One of my biggest problems with communication is that I have so many ideas or things I need to say in my head, and then I go to write it, and all the thoughts kind of get blocked together and don't get out onto my email or report or text message. And so in the workplace, it is a really, really good idea to plan your message, which can really help you organize your thoughts and get your point across. Let me show you the difference planning makes. Without planning, here's what happens. You sit down to write an email or prepare a presentation, and you just start. So you begin typing whatever comes to mind. You ramble. You bury your main points somewhere in the middle and include too many or not enough detail. Your message wanders, and your audience, they're confused. We're planning just 2 minutes of thinking before you start. Everything changes. Your messages become focused, your structure is clear, and you include the appropriate level of detail. And your audience stays engaged because they can follow your thinking. So the difference between these two approaches is literally just 2 minutes of planning. That's it. So what does planning look like? Three simple questions. Here's the first question, and it's the most important one. What's the single most important thing you want your audience to know, understand, or do? If you remember only one thing from your communication, what should it be? I call this the one sentence test. So before you write anything, complete this sentence. The main thing I need them to know is. If you can't fill in the blank in one clear sentence, you're not ready to write yet. You need to clarify your own thinking first. Let's look at some examples. So a too vague one, I want to update them about the project. A clear core message would be the project deadline needs to move from July the 15th to July the 1st due to supplier delays. Another too vague one, we should discuss the budget. But a clear core message would be we need an additional 15,000 for equipment. Notice what makes these clear. They're specific. They include concrete details. They tell you exactly what the audience needs to know. So your core message should always pass this test. If I could only communicate one thing, is this it? Now, let's move on to the second question. What does your audience already know about this topic? It matters because understanding what they know prevents two very common mistakes. Mistake one, over-explaining what they already understand. You waste their time and make your message unnecessarily long. Mistake two, assuming knowledge that they don't have. You confuse them because you skip essential context. So before you write, ask yourself three things. Do they know the background and context? Are they familiar with the project, the situation, or the issue you're addressing? Or is this completely new to them? What's their expertise level? Are they technical experts who understand the jargon? Business managers who understand the strategy but not the technical details? Or a general audience who needs everything explained? Have they been involved in previous discussions? Have they been to the relevant meetings, read previous emails, or is this their first time hearing about this? The answers to these questions tell you how much background to provide. If they've been involved from the start, you can jump straight to your update. If it's their first exposure, you need to start with basics. And also remember, in emails where you'll have a mixed crowd as well, you need to think, is there somebody here who hasn't been involved before? And although it can be frustrating for the others, you would need to provide some context. It's worse for that person who gets the email and doesn't understand because they've just joined the project. So, you really got to think if there is a team or a group of people, the difference in knowledge as well. And of course, you can have emails where there's a difference in expertise level as well. So try and keep everything as concise as possible. Make sure the information is there for all your people in the email. What information do they need to understand your core message and take action? Let me give you a framework for thinking about this. There are three categories of information. The first is need to know. This is essential. They can't understand your message or make a decision without this information. Include key facts, deadlines, required actions, and the impacts on them. The nice to know. This is interesting background, but not essential. It provides context, but isn't necessary for understanding or deciding. Be very selective about including this. Then we have leave out. It's irrelevant. Internal process details they don't care about, personal opinions that don't matter, tangential information that needs to be deleted. The key question for every piece of information: do they need this to understand my core message or take action? And if the answer is no, leave it out. Your job isn't to tell them everything you know, it's to tell them what they need to know. Let me show you what happens when you skip this planning step. Here's a real example of an email written without planning. Hi everyone, I just wanted to touch base about the client meeting we had last week. There were some interesting points raised, particularly around the timeline. John mentioned that his team might need more resources, which got me thinking about our own capacity. We've been quite busy lately with the other projects. I think we should probably discuss this at some point. Let me know your thoughts when you have a chance. So, what's wrong with this? Everything. There's no clear core message. What am I actually being told? It assumes everyone was in the meeting. What if they weren't? The action is vague. Discuss at some point. When? What specifically? And there are unnecessary details like we've been quite busy lately. Who cares? That sounds a little bit mean. This person started typing without planning and it shows. Now, let's see the difference planning makes. Let's say the person stopped and did their planning first. So we got the core message. We need to hire a contractor for July and August. They know we have ongoing projects. They need the reason, the cost, the timeline, and what decision is needed. Now, look at the email. We need to hire a contractor for July and August to meet the client's revised timeline. The additional cost is 12,000. Please approve by Friday so we can begin recruitment next week. 3 sentences. Everything you need, nothing you don't. A clear message, hire a contractor for 2 months. A clear reason, client's revised timeline. Clear cost, 12,000. Clear action, approved by Friday. This person spent 2 minutes planning and it saved them 10 minutes of writing and rewriting. More importantly, it saved their audience the time of trying to figure out what they were asking for. So it's the same situation, but a completely different result. The only difference? Planning. Here's a template that you can use before you write any important message, an email, a document, a presentation. So answer the 3 questions. 1, core message, the main thing I need them to know. 2, what they already know, my audience is familiar with. 3, what they need to know to understand or act they need. Write down your answers before you start. It takes 2 minutes, but it will transform your communication. You can do it on paper or in your notes app or just in your head if you prefer. The key is doing it before you start writing. So the key takeaways: planning prevents unclear, rambling communication. 2 minutes of planning before you start makes all the difference. Answer 3 simple questions. What's your core message? The one thing they need to know. What do they already know? So you provide them the right amount of background. What they need to know to understand your message and take action. And here's the payoff. Spend 2 minutes of planning to save 20 minutes of revising. More importantly, you'll save your audience time and confusion. Your homework tomorrow, before you write your next important email, stop and answer these 3 questions. Promise you, you'll notice the difference.